Thanks, Pratik, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
First up, congratulations.
Thank you.
Completing 7 years in Mu Sigma. That's really an incredible achievement.
Thank you.
But before we get into your journey at Mu Sigma, let's just turn back the clock. Before your time at Mu Sigma.
Sure.
And from what we've discussed in the past, there is this story of rebellion. So can you tell us how did you end up joining Mu Sigma?
It's an interesting story. I think I joined Mu Sigma with sort of a chip on my shoulder. I was shut down early on during the campus interviews. So I couldn't make it to the interviews and the group discussions and the problem-solving rounds as such. And that took me by surprise and by a lot of anger, because Mu Sigma was the only company I sort of didn't even get to appear for the next rounds, while I'd cleared all other companies. So I came back to Bangalore, I guess, while I was waiting for my other job offers. And I'd made it a point that I'm going to get into Mu Sigma, and I applied offshore, went through those. We used to have around 5 to 6 rounds back in the days, which even included in the final leadership interview round somebody making me write a poem, which was an interesting one. And that's how I came to Mu Sigma, and it's been 7 years and it's been home. I think what was the rebel dream that I was talking to you about back then, it was like I was so irritated back then that I was like, I'm going to join this company, work here, and come back to my own university to recruit it, which sort of came true back in 2018, I imagine. 2018.
Just out of curiosity, what was the title of the poem that you wrote?
Oh, I think excerpts from the day. Something of the, yeah. I think whoever was interviewing me, he's no longer with the company. He asked me to, so he gave me a case study, right? And we went through those rounds and everything. And then he started grilling me one after another on my hobbies and everything that I'd written into the CV to check the authenticity of it. And somewhere I'd mentioned my liking for poetry and stuff. And it's like, what do you mean? Can you write me a poem right now? And I was like, okay, cool, let's do that. And towards the end of it, and I still remember it was like 4x4 or around 16. Yeah, it was like a small short sonnet.
Okay, nice. That's interesting. That says a lot about the company, right? There's more to Mu Sigma than just the math.
Absolutely.
So there's also this other dimension to what you were doing before you joined Mu Sigma, and that's almost dreamlike. I mean, that's the kind of aspiration a lot of people in engineering colleges or other colleges start out with, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little more about what you were doing before you joined Mu Sigma?
Honestly, I was a full-time musician. I had 2 sort of emerging Indian fusion bands in the Bhubaneswar region, Odisha region. Back then, we were into progressive rock, a lot of fusion stuff. There would be Bollywood with blues and jazz and whatnot. But like a good Indian son, you're supposed to get a job because that's a hobby, right? So that's why I sort of parted ways. Not, I'd say part ways. Music always stays with you, but in order to strike sustainability, I guess. And that's how I started applying for job interviews and stuff. And I think I cleared around 4 of them, and then Mu Sigma was the 5th one. Yeah.
Okay. So you did at some point in time give up a certain career or ambition, sort of
somewhat at that point in time. Yes, definitely.
Becoming a full-time guy.
Yeah. Honestly, because all 4 years, like, I was heavy into music.
Yeah. And then you joined Mu Sigma. So what was the turning point that convinced you that this is what you want to do, or this is the place that you want to be?
I think it was interesting since day one. When we were made to sign those 3-year papers and stuff, right? I rang up my dad immediately. And I was like, they're asking for a 3-year commitment. And my dad was like, I mean, we have been staying in, our jobs for 30, 35 years. And the problem with your generation is you can't commit. And it's like, yeah, that's fair enough, but 3 years and all of that. And it's like, if the company is investing in you to learn for 3 years, I don't think it's a big enough tenure if they're paying you for learning. Because that was the discussion in terms of what the company does, what are the perks from that perspective and everything. And he was like, you always have an option. But if you're there after 3 years, remember this day and then write about it. So that was very interesting. That was the first fond memory. And as soon as I hit my first project, that was for a Fortune 100 sports retailer brand. I mean, all of us might have a pair of the shoes. But the amount of problems that I solved over there, and the share of voice that I had sort of on the table, it was really, really interesting for me, because early on I came in, I was onboarded with an exec report that used to go out quarterly, and it was a 60-page deck. So obviously my seniors were bent on the how do you learn all the codes, how do you learn SQL, how do you run all the codes and everything. And I was like, wait a minute, does even anybody read it? And then I went up to my manager and straight up asked him how the consumption was and what decisions they take and everything. I said, why don't we convert it into an infograph? Like go to the UV team, I think they used to sit on 11th floor back then, and just have a discussion with them and come back to me on your ideas. And I was like, I'm not even 1 month into this company and I'm allowed to give ideas, right? And I came back the same day and they ran with it. And it got produced into a really nice insights infograph, which was very well received by the clients. And it was stuck on the walls of the North American headquarters. That was like the turning point for me. It's like, this is all happening too fast. Right. You can see data to decisions, everything happening in front of you. So I think that is where I found Mu Sigma, I would say, for me, because that creative liberty, that voice, and that ability to just be open, honest, without any boundaries, and make your ideas fly, it was just incredible. Like I couldn't have imagined of it in any other form. Like I think the second thing for me was chaos. So I thrive on chaos, and I think it'll be safe to say we are surrounded by chaos all the time, right? And Mu Sigma, sort of in your own ways, you start learning about how to capitalize on chaos. Right. So that's been like two big major things for me. Right. That feeling of being liberated and the feeling of working through chaos.
So since you've spoken about learning on the go, right? Learning over knowing and extreme experimentation,
absolutely,
are two phrases that are a core part of our values and belief system. But you've spent a significant amount of time here. It's been 7 years. So there's of course a difference between starting afresh and being a seasoned player in the field.
Yeah.
But do you still feel that you're learning on the job every day? Do you still feel there is room for experimentation, or are you able to do that even today, 7 years hence?
That's what's kept me for the last 7 years, to be honest. I think I've never gotten up one day where I start feeling, okay, I'm not going to learn anything today. I mean, all our titles, right? Apprentice leaders, everything that you see in our company, it's all based on the philosophy of learning over knowing. You're learning constantly every day in every aspect of your life, and also the kind of positions that you're leading. You might be a leader, but you're still learning every day. And I still feel that, to be honest. I mean, I've just wrapped up 2022. And if I just start reflecting back, there's been just learnings, a lot of learnings. And those learnings sort of help you drive the experimentation as well. Because the more you learn, the more you make calculated experiments, the more you make risky experiments as well, because you start understanding the distinguishing factors, and that evolution starts happening stages by stages if you understand the core of this company.
I mean, personally, there's something I feel that the values that we have, the value system that we have, their application extends beyond work, right? I mean, they are so simply phrased and they're very easy to apply in almost every facet of life. So how have those values or your experience in Mu Sigma in general helped you shape yourself as an individual, as someone with, parallel ambitions of maybe pursuing the guitar?
I think straight up, if I'm honest, because of these kinds of philosophies that we have learned throughout, right? It helped me take a lot of drastic decisions as well in my life, in the other life. After 10 years, I wanted to pursue music back again. And without having a second thought, just by the mindset of, okay, I'm just going to learn on the job, even if I go for it or not. I applied for a program with the Australian government and the Music Victoria and the BOAT, which is a multicultural organization back in Australia. And I got a grant for a project called the Portfolio Project, which was a platform for culturally and linguistically diverse artists from across the globe. And 10 of us were selected, and I was the only one from India. So without any experience per se, everybody else had like 10 years of experience, performing experience in pocket. I had none. I was like, okay, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna learn on the job all over again. I've been selected for a reason, and that's what I exactly did. And I ended up collaborating with more than 5 musicians who have been performing in the Victorian music industry for the last 15 years. I collaborated with a rock guitarist from Melbourne. I collaborated with a Spanish pop band from Colombia. So it was all, and then there were a lot of percussionists which were local and native to Melbourne and stuff. And I think, yeah, this is just that idea of extreme experimentation. It's like, let's just experiment, we'll just jam along, we'll see where this goes from here. And we ended up performing, all of us together, shooting a bunch of videos and all of that, and performing across Melbourne.
Right. So, in your entire tenure here so far, right, what are some of the fondest memories you have, right? I mean, they could be memories of successes, or probably some of the, toughest hours you've had.
Yeah. I think back then, we used to just love being in office, to be honest. I mean, the energy was, and that's why we would have like so many fond memories with all our colleagues and everybody else. I still remember there was this 3-day marathon. When I say marathon, we were literally living, breathing, problem solving sort of within the office. Like, we just went back to get changed and take a shower and stuff, and we were solving this for a running category again for the same sports retailer. And just that high of, knowing that your work is going to drive certain decisions that's going to impact shoes all across the world. That was phenomenal. So that's one of the biggest memories that I had, for sure. It was 3 days in a row, I still remember, and we used to work till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and then come back at 9, and it was crazy. At the same time, we loved it. And I think then the second most important one was just handing over, hundreds of offer letters to new music men and seeing those smiles on the faces, just reminding yourself that you were there one of the days. I think those memories were pretty special. And otherwise, then you'll always have gate 3, this, that, here. And there were a lot of, people who have been in music but know the specific spots where there are a lot of memories for sure.
Right. So do you miss the Bangalore office now that you've been in Australia for a couple of years?
I do. I have a beautiful team. I have a beautiful team who sits here in the 11th floor, and if you walk into that bay, you'll just see the energy, right? And I do miss that, sort of sitting down and working with them and whiteboarding a lot of stuff, right. Discussing, having dialogues, all of that. But at the same time, because the account that I lead has so many stakeholders across diverse departments altogether, we are always consumed throughout the day in terms of solving problems with the customers. So that evens it out, but the energy from the team you always miss, that's for sure.
That's great. So just one last question maybe. I mean, there are so many other aspiring decision scientists and data scientists who are looking to join MuSigma. And if you wanted to tell them one thing, 1 or 2 things that they can certainly expect once they join here, what would it be?
I think the whole MuSigma experience, to be honest, it's the best company you can join when you start your career. It's a whole journey of self-discovery, to be honest. And you see how data translates into decisions at any point in time. And I mean, the amount of power exposure and your exposure to chaos and normalcy it gives you, it'll just make you into a professional which is way apart from others in the crowd, I feel. And I think I can say that safely, 7 years, and having worked with so many professionals from across the globe now, at different levels, and the thought process that ours matures into is at least 5 to 6 years ahead. So, I mean, that's definitely, and you feel the difference. So I think if somebody wants to, think about what they're going to get, they need to experience it. They need to experience it, for sure.
That's wonderful. I like how you qualified it as the journey of self-discovery.
Absolutely,
Right? I mean,
absolutely.
That actually summarizes the Mu Sigma experience. So thanks so much, Pratik, for sharing your stories. And once again, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
completing 7 years. in Mu
My
Sigma.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.